Good morning, Zio here, and today we're talking about World of Warcraft and the team's inability to make any meaningful change in the game, and why I think that actually has resulted in, well, let's just go ahead and get into it. So grab yourself some coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get into it, shall we? And before we get into that, did you know I have a TikTok? I also have Twitter, so, get on the keyboard or your phone, whatever it is that you're watching this on, and hit the links in the description down below so you can go ahead and go find that stuff. We're over here at TikTok where we have some harmless fun because life is way too serious, and sometimes we need to just do some funny things, some normal things, some just talking about stuff. And with TikTok, it allows you to essentially stitch and duet and do all these other things where you can actually respond to people and things, like for instance a question of the day or something, where you can actually directly interact with me utilizing a video format if you wanted to. So go ahead, go do that now. Follow me. Anyway, today we're talking about World of Warcraft, the game itself, and Blizzard's team, their inability to make any meaningful changes these days. And I think that actually directly correlates with how bad the game has gotten. I guess is the best way to put it, right? You know, and we're going to explain how we come to this. But first things first, what we're looking at right here are essentially the changes in Cataclysm. So if you didn't know, World of Warcraft has had multiple expansions up to this point. It's hard to keep track of them all, I guess, especially if you're new to Blizzard and World of Warcraft and all this other stuff. But there was a cataclysm that happened. So we had the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and then Cataclysm. And when Cataclysm came, a ton of meaningful changes to the whole of Azeroth came with it. Straight up just changes of zones. And what I've got this up here for is just pictures essentially of these changes from different locations, from like the Arithi Highlands to the Badlands and everything in between, where things have changed, right? Arithi Highlands used to be sort of the spot that you went to, and it had, this, back in the old days, there was a lot of world PvP that happened here because you had the Alliance settlement to the south, the Horde settlement to the north. And of course, since then, it's been taken over by the undead, and they've done things and stuff like that. And there was a lot of change to other things, like this is the Badlands where Deathwing came through and did stuff. But Deathwing pretty much came through, the Cataclysm happened, and it changed the whole of Azeroth. And in my opinion, this was a meaningful change that the game needed, of course, up to that point. It also brought in flying, opened up zones that were just speculated and glitched into, and other stuff if you wanted to try and see them and see what was there, and open up the world in a whole new way. Since then, Blizzard cannot make any kind of meaningful choices at all when it comes to the game itself. So we're just quickly clicking through these. There's a lot here. There's like 334 different screenshots of how different things have essentially changed. Wish I had a before and after picture to go with it, but it doesn't. But yeah, a lot of things changed. A lot of new stuff happened into the game during the Cataclysm expansion. Let's see. Anyway, since then, they have done things that should change things in game, and they've never kept them, which I think is one of the reasons why, it's done poorly. I guess is a good way to say it. It's sort of not set well, I guess, with me, for instance. But, a lot of players have noticed this where it makes no difference whatsoever. So let's think of something recent, right? Something that has recently changed the face of Azeroth, but it didn't stick, right? So you've got the burning of the world tree, Tisdrassil. If I can actually say it, right? the entire Night Elf city was burnt to the ground, essentially, as well as the sacking of Undercity. Both those things should be game-changing things and should not be accessible anymore to the normal player. However, because Blizzard can't stick to that, it's as if it never actually happened. There's an NPC in the world or whatnot that you can go click on and say revert it to the past, and you can get the past version of that or the current one where it's burnt down. I think Blizzard should stick with these things. If they're going to make them story beats and they're going to make them meaningful, not just shock value in the moment like they were, they should stay that way. That NPC should be gone. Another one, Sithless. Sithless, that's how you say it, right? That last area of Classic that it was right there before AQ 20 and 40. That area there, it got stabbed by a giant sword and is now, well, a crater with a giant sword in it. But you can swap it to its past form and do things from the past, which, makes the change not very meaningful at all. Like I was talking about Undercity right now, it's been sacked. It should be uninhabitable at this moment, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know what that Undercity looks like. Like, no joke. Immediately afterwards, I was like, revert Undercity back to the way it was, or if you take a portal to Undercity, you just revert it back to its past self, and you continue doing things as business as usual. And just like the Night Elf area, both those starting zones for Night Elves and Undead eventually go to those locations, right? They eventually funnel you into those locations, and I think Blizzard should, one, not give you the ability to revert back to the past. That should be gone completely out of there. We should not be able to enter those areas at all, which means they need to change some things in the starting zones, right? They need to actually change how these two groups, these races, funnel into things, because now they can't go to Undercity, now they can't go to Tissercell because the place is burnt to the ground. The same thing, of course, with Sithless and any other location in the world where you can go between a current version of it versus a past version of it. It needs to be done away with. It needs to actually mean something to have those areas decimated and destroyed. As of right now, it doesn't have that at all. It's completely meaningless. It means absolutely nothing. And whatever happened to it in the current day, it was purely a shock value thing, if anything, for the story. And it doesn't do anything to, enrich the world itself when you can just swap back before it, and it's as if it never happened. I completely forget now. I'm not going to lie. I completely forget now that Undercity and the World Tree are inaccessible because, quite frankly, I've never really seen it in its state outside of what it was necessary for the story beat to watch, Sylvanas burn it down and then to watch Sylvanas nuke it with gas. Outside of that, I don't even know what it looks like, if it is even accessible. It might be something that you can walk into and then shortly die afterwards because of the gas or something. I've never explored it. In fact, I'm now wondering, has anybody actually gone and tried to explore these areas after that in the current timeline, or if it's even accessible at all? Is it something that you can actually go into these locations and try to explore before dying or something to that effect? But yeah, the WoW team just can't make a meaningful choice when it comes to the game itself and changing the world. The last time it did it was Cataclysm, and it needed something, right? Whether it was cutting the Barrens in half or whatever, because that zone was freaking huge. Things like Thousand Needles, I remember when it wasn't underwater, when, there was an actual occupational hazard of falling off of something, off those plateaus in Thousand Needles. It meant you were dead, right? This day and age, no, you're going to land in the water and you're going to be fine. Gnome punting just doesn't have the same effect when you can punt it off and it survives the fall because of the water. But seriously, World of Warcraft needs to make these changes permanent, quite frankly. Um, and it doesn't. And that's a problem with their story. Not only do they have other problems with their story and the fact that they retcon and change certain lore to make it happen and all this other stuff, but when they do make a change, they don't make it permanent. And I think that's a huge problem. They're afraid to make it permanent. If you're going to sack 2 cities, freaking sack the cities and make them unavailable. Do something to fix it. Undercity is gone. That kind of is like the only city, I think, on the Eastern Kingdom at all for the Horde up here. If you're going to sack it, freaking sack it. And then do something, make a Brill or something the new point of interest with portals or something, because Brill survives or whatnot. Make that the new point of interest over there. And of course in Kalimdor, this area should be burnt down and gone. So naturally, Night Elves should probably start over here on the Dark Coast somewhere, or maybe the refugees start over here where the Draenei start. People from here came over to here, and this is where the new Night Elf starting zone is just a small encampment off the beach here, because story wise, you just barely escaped the burning of the tree. And then, of course, you came over here for aid at the Exodar, and that's where it should be. They need to do something to put those systems in place if they're going to make a major lore, definitely a major lore beat. But then, if the world doesn't actually reflect it, because it doesn't matter that this tree is down, you're never going to know it, right? You can just start a new character if you start in the old thing and don't go through this new revamped system that they've done, which has been done greatly for characters. If you go back and just start a Night Elf and do the old one, you can still go through this old zone stuff, probably never even know that the world tree has been burnt down due to the fact that that expansion is no longer current. And you just go on to the Shadowlands or whatnot when you hit the appropriate level, and just you never even know that's a thing, because it's not permanent in the world to make you ask, what happened here? And then you go and find out that Sylvanas burnt it down and all this other stuff. And yeah, I think that's where we're at with that. That's my thoughts on it. World of Warcraft, the team, the devs, whatever, whoever it is who handles things on that side is afraid to make any meaningful changes whatsoever. I mean, of course, if we can make complete changes to, say, these places, like we have in the past with Ogrimmar and Stormwind, most notably, where they get upgrades and stuff, the zone should be permanent as well. Anyway, that's what I got. Let me know what you think down below, and I will talk to you later. See ya. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.